But in acceptance sampling, it is something different. Here what you do, you don't inspect the whole lot of the products. Instead, you will randomly pick a sample from the whole lot. Here lot means population. And that randomly picked sample will be inspected. And based on the outcomes of that inspection of that random sample, you will arrive at a decision whether to accept the entire lot or to reject it. For example, when you are working in a shipbuilding yard, shipbuilding mainly involves a welding process. So when you are welding many parts, it is not possible for you to test for the strength of welds by breaking it off. See, you are having an instrument called UTM, Universal Testing Machine. If you got civil engineering strength of materials lab, you will see that. You use this machine to test for the strength of the weld. So if you want to test for the strength of the weld, you have to break the weldment. So see, you have made 500 weldments. 500 weldments means you have made 500 welded products. Is it possible to break all the 500 welds to know the strength? It is not possible. Once you break the welds, it is of no use further. You have broken it down. So there are certain tests known as destructive testing and non-destructive testing in engineering. Non-destructive testing means you doesn't make any destruction or breaking of the product. Instead, you will use some methods like, say, ultraviolet rays is being sent through the product, so to find out whether there is any internal damage that has occurred in the product. There is something another called Ziegler test. Have you heard about Ziegler test? Have you heard about Ziegler test?
No, sir.
Yeah. So Ziegler test means, I will tell you. For example, the propeller of a vessel. Vessel means ship. You know what is a propeller, na? Propeller. That will rotate and pushes the ship forward. Is it not? So the propeller will get damaged after some time. It will have erosions because it is always immersed in brackish water. So some kind of erosions happens and there will be holes or some pores that is being forming on the propeller. So what you do, you paste this pigment, which is a fluorescent known as Ziegler. And when you paste this pigment and on the propeller shaft, I mean the propeller leaves, and then watch the propeller in dark light, that means in darkness. Create a darkness around the propeller by shading it using some kind of material. You look in darkness to the propeller leaf pasted with this pigment. You will find those pores where the pigment has entered, lightening. So you paste this pigment on the leaves of the propeller, remove the additional paste that is on the propeller by shaving it off. Now create a dark environment around and look the propeller leaves in the dark. You will see glowing spots. These glowing spots are actually pores or small holes that has been formed on the propeller where this pigment has entered. This pigment will start glowing when you look at it in darkness. That is what is called fluorescent, is it not? Fluorescent agents, pigments. So this is a non-destructive testing. Here you are not breaking and seeing anything. But there is something called destructive testing where you have to break the object and see. For example, just like to see the strength of a weld. So it is not possible to break and see every weld you create because that will damage the whole product. It is a waste of time and money. So in such situation where especially destructive testing is happening, even this is applied to non-destructive testing also to save time and money because inspection cost a lot of money, a lot of cash. So you, for out of 500 welds that you have made, you will randomly select maybe say 50 welds. Break and see whether they are actually having the required strength, and based on that you will accept or reject the lot. So this is known as acceptance sampling. You sample the whole lot and based on the outcomes of the sampling of the lot, I mean the outcome of the sample, you will generalize to whether to accept or reject the lot, the entire lot. Hence the term acceptance sampling. Is it clear up to this? Is it clear up to this? Yes, you can see this in the Amitabha Mitra textbook. Okay, so there are disadvantages for acceptance sampling. Advantages is that main advantage is that you don't make the products waste, or you don't make the products render it of no use. Much of time and money is saved. So these are all advantages. Can you tell me any disadvantage? Yes, yes, very good. There can be some defective pieces also. And it is not there can be, many of the times there will be. Many of the times there will be. And because of that only, there is a concept called average outgoing quality that we will do in the lab today. That I will tell to you later. Now, in the acceptance sampling, there are distributions that is to be followed to calculate whether to accept or reject the lot. So, for example, you are having 1,000 pieces products. You are taking a sample, small letter n, capital N is say 1,000. So let me display whatever it is, and then I will type and show you. That is the best way of dealing with it. Can you see the screen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you see the screen now?
Yes.
Yes. So population is also known as lot. In quality engineering, population is usually known as lot, and it is given by capital N. You are having 500 pieces of products. Gear case, 500 gear cases. Now you will randomly, best method is to check all the gear case, but it will consume a lot of time and money because inspection consumes a lot of time and money. So out of 500 gears, you will select a sample, say 75. All right. Now you will fix an acceptance sampling number, C, the small letter C, and you say that maybe 25. So acceptance sampling is C. So the decision rule you are going to arbitrarily place here. So are you seeing that? This is small letter n. You can note it down if you want. So I think we have discussed this in the previous class. Now, have I explained to you sometime producer's risk and consumer's risk? Is it not? Is it respond? Long back, now I have explained these things to you. Is it not? Producer's risk, consumer's risk. See, I told there is a basket of apple. There are 100 apple. I am the producer. You are the consumer.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. You come to me,
Sir,
and
when the
yeah, tell me.
sir, when the lot is like we have selected 10 apples, all 7 out of them are bad, but the rest of lot is good. So that is one risk.
Yeah, let me just revise for every of our friends. So let us just go through it once. I am having say 100 apples in the bag. I am the producer. The customer, one of you is a customer, comes to me. Now I will arbitrarily choose somebody's name. Whose name I will choose? So Abhishek, can I take your name for some time?
Yes, sir. Sure.
Yes. So Abhishek is the customer. I am the producer. Professor Menon is the producer. So I have 100 apples in a bag. Now Abhishek comes to me and he tells, I am going to purchase this bag of 100 apples, but I have to inspect them to decide whether I should accept it or not. And he tells, now he is taking the control. He tells that he will randomly pick, say, 10 apples. So here the lot is actually 100 apples. The lot is actually 100 apples. I'm typing in back bracket 100 apples. Same way. And the sample part, Abhishek is telling that he will take 10 apples. He told that his acceptance number is actually 2 for apples. I mean, not 2, let it be say 6. Now he tells that if the number of rotten apples is less than 6, out of 10 is less than 6, I will accept the lot. But if the number of apples rotten are greater than or equal to 6, that means out of 10 apples, 6 or more apples rotten, I will reject the whole lot. Now Abhishek is randomly picking 10 apples from the bag. He inspects, he finds 4 apples to be rotten. Now as per the decision rule, 4 apples rotten, he will accept the whole lot. But if he finds that 7 apples are rotten or 6 apples are rotten, as per the decision rule, 6 or more apples rotten, he will reject the lot. So accordingly, he will reject the lot. Now comes the problem here. Now, Abhishek is finding that 7 apples are rotten. So as per the decision rule, 6 or more apples reject the lot, 7 apples rotten now. He tells me, sorry sir, I cannot take this lot, I am rejecting the lot. But 93 apples are good. That means 90 apples in the bag plus the 3 apples he has randomly selected and checked, which is also good. 93 apples were good. Only the 7 was rotten. So he should have accepted the lot. So what has happened? This is known as producer's risk. So he has not accepted the lot. So the loss is for me. Who is the producer? I am the producer. So this is known as producer's risk. This is similar like rejecting the lot when it can be accepted, or rejecting the hypothesis when it is actually true. This is known as type 1 error in statistics, producer's risk. Now, I made a trick actually. I played a trick. I had many rotten apples which I kept at the bottom of the bag, and all the good apples I kept at the top. Now Abhishek is randomly picking 10 apples. He found only 3 apples rotten. So according to the decision rule, he agrees to take the apple. Now he gives me money. He takes this bag of 100 apples, which according to him only 3 apples are rotten. He takes this to his shop to sell. Now when he starts selling, he finds that more apples were rotten towards the bottom of the bag, because I have played this trick. Now it is consumer's risk, because now the loss is going to happen for Abhishek. So he has accepted a lot which was bad and which actually had to be rejected. This is just like accepting a hypothesis when it is actually false. This is known as type 2 error, beta, and it is also known as consumer's risk. All right. Is it clear up to this?
Yes, sir.
So let me take some water. Now in acceptance sampling, this sampling procedure follows some distributions. So there are distribution, you might have heard of binomial distribution. Have you heard about binomial distribution?
Yes, sir.
What is it?
Sir,
The
sample to the
Tell me.
sir, p to the power n into 1 minus p to the power, something like that.
I'm not asking that. See, in an interview, if you are asked a question, what is binomial distribution, you tell CNI p raised to I, q raised to n minus I, all these things, they will get irritated. Instead, you should tell it follows a binary notation which have only two outcomes, like 0, 1, true or false, on or off, yes or no. So there is possibly only two outcomes at any point of time. First condition. Second condition, the occurrence, the probability of occurrence is the same for every trial and every event. They are the same, such that the probability of occurrence of an event is mutually exclusive or independent of the occurrence of another event. For example, consider a sample n equal to 10 objects. Can you see what I'm typing?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So I'm speaking exclusively on binomial distribution. Okay. So consider 10 objects you have picked from a population, whatever it may be. Now you are going to find out the number of defects in this object. So if you want to find out the defect in this object, you are going to sample it. You will sample it 10 times. Or you will sample it 5 times. Sampling for 5 times means 5 times you will take out the objects from the lot, from the sample size, 10. So now, sample 1. You take one object randomly and inspect. So what do you mean by a success here? What is a success here? There is a success and a failure in binomial distribution. What is the success here?
Product is not defective.
Wrong. Wrong. I am trying to find out the defective. So in this case, a success to me is actually finding a defective. Am I right? Are you clear what I'm telling?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes.
Don't miss with success and defective, all these things. Success simply means getting something what you intend to get. Here what I'm trying to get through inspection is to find the defective. So when I find a defective, I tell it is a success. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes.
Sir, can you explain again? Sir, you are talking about type 1 error.
No, you leave type 1 all these things. Type 1 error, type 2 error, I have already told you. That is over. Now I am discussing binomial distribution. Don't mess up. The other ones are used for this OC curve and all these calculations. Because when you are making a decision whether to accept or reject a lot, the three things that is very important that comes to play that defines your decision will be the lot size, the sample size small letter n, and the acceptance number C. All these three things will play the game. If these three things are not properly set, either consumer's risk or producer's risk will result. In either way around, one of the party will be a loser. So how can you design an acceptance sampling plan? By correctly fixing the combination of the lot size, sample size small letter n, and acceptance number C, such that both the producer's risk and consumer's risk can be minimized. That was what I was speaking about type 1, type 2 error, accepting the lot when it is bad, consumer's risk. Rejecting the lot when it is good, producer's risk. It is analogous to type 1, type 2 error, that's all. Now, if you want to solve all these things, which you will see in the lab part, you need to have this binomial distribution, Poisson, all this distribution. So I am going to discuss two main distributions which will repeatedly be taken, will occur in the quality engineering. So first one is binomial. So there are conditions that probability of occurrence of a success or an event is same for all the events. All right, the probability of occurrence of a success shall not change in binomial distribution. So here, success means out of the 10 objects, I want to find out the number of objects which are defectives. So when I get a defective, I call it a success. So probability of getting a success in the first sampling, S1, what is that probability? Can you tell me? Out of 10 objects, I will randomly pick one object and I will start visual inspection to find out whether it is defective or not. What is the probability that that object which I have randomly picked from the whole 10 is defective? You are expected to answer this question. What is it? Wow.
So 0.1.
Exactly. 0.1. See, when you toss what to say, that die, when you toss a six-faced die, what is the chance that you will get the face with four holes or 4 points? It is 1 by 6. 1 by 6. If you flip a coin, what is the chance that you will get a heads? It is 1 by 2 because there is only two sides of a coin. Whereas for a die, there are 6 faces. So the chance of holding any one face on the top is 1 by 6. Similarly, out of 10 objects, the probability that the first object which I have randomly picked to be a success, that is a defective, is 0.1, 1 by 10. Now I pick the second sample, S2. So what will be the probability that the sample S2, the second object I have picked, is defective? Is defective?
0.1.
How can that be 0.1?
1 by 9.
So 1 by 9.
1 by 9. I didn't tell the condition. The condition is that I have already picked the first object randomly for inspection in S1. Is it not? Is it not?
Yes, sir.
I have, so now there are only 9 objects left because I picked the first one already. Now, if this sampling has to follow binomial distribution, I have to replace back the first object that I have picked in S1. So when I keep back the first object which I have randomly picked after inspection, the number of objects will remain 10 itself. Is it not? Are you getting my point?
Yes,
So
sir.
last line, can you repeat? Last line.
Last line means I have picked the one object in the sample S1.
Yes.
So when I pick the first object, how many objects is left out?
9.
9. But I am going to keep back the first object after inspection. I'm going to keep back to the sample. So it will remain 10 objects itself. After inspecting the first object, I keep back the first object into the sample. So this is known as replacement. So binomial distribution will only hold when it is sampling with replacement. Did you get the idea what I am telling? Because if you if you replace it back, the number of objects will remain 10. And now for the second sample, I randomly pick an object. The probability of the second sample randomly picked object to be defective remains again 0.1. If and only if I replace it back. But if I am not replacing it back, then the probability that the second one randomly picked to be a success will be exactly as one of our friend told, it will be 1 by 9. Am I clear? Are you getting my point? What I'm trying to tell?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the binomial distribution condition is violated. It tells that the probability of occurrence of a success is the same for all the trials. That the probability of occurrence of a success for 10 objects, probability that one object will be a failure or a defective is 1 by 10.1. So in every sampling, the probability of occurrence of a success has to remain the same as per the binomial distribution condition. It has to be 0.1 for every sampling. And if it has to remain 0.1 for every sampling, you have to keep back the object you have picked for inspection. So as to always maintain the total number of objects in the sample size to be 10. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now let us take the second case. I'm not going to write everything together, but I am just writing something. I will write the other things later. You will understand now when I'm writing. Sampling without replacement. sampling without replacement. So again, I am writing this. So I am taking 10 objects. 10 objects, I am taking one randomly. Again, the probability of a success will be what? Probability of a success will be what here?
0.1.
0.1.
0.1. Great. Now, I am not going to replace this first piece I have taken, first object I have taken. I am keeping it aside. I will keep it aside. Now, how many objects are left back?
9.
9.
So now I am take the second random sample from the 9 objects that are left out. What is the probability of me getting a success here?
1 by 9.
1 by 9. 1 by 9. So now it will be 0.111. Is it not? Now I am not replacing that again. I have removed it. So every time I take one object for inspection, I am not keeping it back to the lot. I mean to the sample. So now the third sample I am taking. What will be the probability of a success?
0.125.
0.125. That is 1 by 8. Is it not? So now the condition for binomial distribution is violated. It tells that the probability of occurrence of a success is same for all the trials. Is it the same for all the trials here?
No, sir.
No. So it has violated binomial distribution. So it is no longer binomial distribution. Let us take another example also. You have capital N, a lot of say 100 pieces. Now out of that, you are going to pick a sample N, which is equal to, this is sample size small letter n, which is equal to say again 10. Now you know, for example, arbitrarily I am telling the number of defectives in that sample of 10 is a 4. Okay, so sample is A and I am typing it number of defectives in the sample. It is given by small letter a and it is equal to 4. You know, just you take it like that. Let it be 4. But even if you doesn't know also no problem, but you would assign it as A. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now, the probability of success means getting a defective one. So what is, I'm going to sample the first one from this. So what will be the probability of success here? Getting a defective? Can anybody tell me? 4 by 10. That means 0.4. That means what? It is simply A by N. Am I right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, 0.4. Good. Now I am not going to replace this sample. I am not going to replace this sample. So how many samples objects are left back in the sample?
9.
9.
9. Now here I am out of these 9 objects. I am going to randomly pick one object. Now I have randomly picked one object from these 9. Now there are 2 cases. Now case 1. First object picked was not defective. Okay. In sample number 2, I have picked the second object. If the first object I have picked and removed from the sample is not defective, what is the probability of success?
4 by 9.
4 by 9.
4 by 9. So it is A by N minus 1. It will be equal to 4 by 9. Now there is a case 2. The first object picked was defective. What will be the probability of getting the success that the second objective is a
3 by
defective?
9. 3 by 9.
3 by 9. That means a minus 1 by n minus 1. Am I right?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So what you understand from this, the probability of success in the second sampling is dependent on the probability of success in the first sample. Is it not? Is it not?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Because
sir.
what is the probability of getting the second object picked to be a defect will simply depend upon whether the first object picked is a defective or not. Am I clear now? Am I clear now?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So it is violating the binomial distribution condition, is it not?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this is without replacement, that whenever you pick an object for inspection, you don't replace it back. Then every time the probability of success becomes dependent on each other, and they follows a new distribution called hypergeometric distribution. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So these two distributions are also very much utilized in acceptance sampling. Anyway, I hope you have understood this, is it not? So now you can explain. You got the essence, now what I mean.
Yes,
This is
sir.
the most simplest way I can explain to you. Is it clear now, the idea? Any doubt for
Yes,
anybody?
sir.
Very good. So now let us see what we have to do this week. So we are going to experiment number 6, simulation studies on acceptance sampling, and it is a single sampling. There are double sampling and multiple sampling plans, but we are not going for that. We are going for a single sampling. Just give me a minute. So in this experiment, the utility of an acceptance sampling simulator in understanding the principles of acceptance sampling has been demonstrated. The physical model simulates the conditions depicting lot by lot acceptance sampling by attributes with single sampling plans. You will be taught this in the class in the coming days. Okay. So who is taking this QD's quality engineering? Is it Professor Chaudhary?
Yes, sir.
So sir will teach you these things in the coming days. I'm not going in every nitty-gritty of these things, but I will just tell you what is much needed for you. So the basic objective is to know the general nature and characteristics of the experimental operating characteristic curve and the average outgoing quality curve in relation to those obtained theoretically for single sampling plans. So I will tell what is this average outgoing quality, all this stuff when it comes to that point. So consider a lot size n equal to 1000. Samples to be collected of size n. If the number of defective items in the sample is less than or equal to C, the sample is accepted. See the condition, less than or equal to C. So if it is equal to C also it is accepted. Otherwise rejected. Generate 8 tables of each of 20 samples using the random number parameters given at the end of the respective for the respective groups. So we start with which group? Group 7, nah?
Yes, sir.
So this is our thing. So there are combinations of N1, N2, P1 and P2. What is P? What is P?
So probability.
No. It is fraction defective, is it not?
Yes, sir. Fraction.
So, see, for group 7, there is, I will speak for group 7, group 8, group 9, 10, 11, 12, the same thing will happen. So, N1, N2 values are given for group 7, 16 and 38. P1, P2 values are also given for group 1, 0.01 and 0.05. Alright, it is actually probability of success what is given P1 and P2, but when it goes to that control charts, it becomes fraction defective. So P1 and P2 are the two probabilities of occurrence of a success. So the occurrence of success can be a defective, or whatever you intend to get, or whatever you are actually inspecting or trying to prove can be the success. So P1 is one probability and second is the P2 is the second probability. Probability of a success, you have to tell that. If you simply tell probability, it can be anything. Now, you have to generate 8 tables. Each table will have 20 randomly generated data for the number of defectives. So the combination for 8 is N1, N2, P1, P2 and C1, C2. N1, N2, P1, P2 and C1, C2. So C1 and C2 are given as 1 and 2. So let us generate the first one. So please keep in mind, I will ask you just note down the value for group 7, 16, 38, 0.01 and 0.05. Please keep that in mind because I will have to come back every time. So it is given here, number of samples to be drawn 20, sample size N1 and N2 that is given in the table. Acceptance number C1 equal to 1 and C2 equal to 2. Load fraction defective, see it is a load fraction defective. P1 and P2 it is from the table. Now the data has to be collected. So there are 8 tables you have to find out. Table 8, table 2, table 1. So this is the combination. So N equal to N1, P equal to P1, C equal to 1. The second table N equal to N1, P equal to P2, C equal to 1. Similarly, the combinations of sample size, fraction defective and acceptance number, you can get 8 tables. Is it clear to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So you will generate random numbers using binomial distribution. Okay, by using binomial distribution. So if you go to N1, P1, C equal to 1, that is the first table. N1, P1, C equal to 1. So for group 7, N1 is 16 and P1 is 0.01. Am I right? Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. So you have to use the code in Excel sheet. I'm typing binom.inv. So it gives in the bracket, the first one should be trials, comma, the probability, comma, the alpha. So what is the trials? Can you tell me what is the trials? N1, exactly, it is N1. What is the number for 7th group? N1 kitna hai? How much?
16.
16. Now what is the probability?
P1 point not 1.
Point?
Not 1.
Okay. So 1 minute. So for group 7 it is 16. The probability underscore yes. So here you have to enter the probability. That means you can enter the mean here. What is the mean of binomial distribution? What is the mean for binomial distribution?
NP.
Very good, NP. So what will be the answer here?
The 16
0.16.
0.0.
16 into 0.01. So what is it actually?
0.16.
0.16. So I'm typing 0.16, comma, RAND, rand. Just enter. See, the value has come. All right. So see, you can type the code for this in the Excel sheet. It is binom.inv equal to binom.inv. Are you seeing that on the screen, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So equal to binom.inv. When you start typing in Excel itself, it will pop up, but still you keep it in mind. Open the bracket, trials. Trials means you can type N1 or N. You just type N because different combinations of N's will be there. N, comma, the mean value. That is NP. So N comma NP comma RAND bracket. RAND bracket and then close the bracket. Have you noted it down? You can see on the screen at the top where my
Yes,
cursor
sir.
is. Yes, it is the formula bar. So once you get the first value, it is written that you should generate 20 random numbers. Random numbers means the number of defectives. It should be 20 in number. Is it not from the table? Can you see the table?
Yes, sir.
So it's what you have to do. Next.
Drag it till 20.
Exactly. Just drag it. All right. You got it now? How to do that?
Yes, sir.
So all the combination N1, N2, P1, P2 is available in the table. Attach a C1 and C2 also with that. So like that you can generate 8 tables. And now see in the first table, accept or reject criteria. What is the accept or reject criteria?
Sir, if less than equal to C, then
Accept it. Is it not? So in the first table, it is C equal to 1. C equal to 1. So less than or equal to C equal to 1 you will accept. So in the Excel sheet, will you accept the first one? No. Second also no, third also no, fourth no, fifth no, sixth no, seventh no, eighth no, ninth no, 10th one?
yes, sir.
You will accept because it is equal to C1. Is it not? Similarly, if you go to the second table, for example, the 8th table, you have C equal to 2. For the same one, you will accept or not the first one?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, you will accept. Second one, no. Third
No,
one, you will
sir.
accept. Fourth one,
Yes.
no. Fifth one, you will accept. Sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, you will not accept. 10th, you will accept. 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, not accepted. 17th one accepted. You got it? How it should be written?
Yes, sir.
So you can write in the column. Under accept column, if it is accepted, you write accept. And if you are rejecting a particular one, then under the reject column, you accordingly write reject. So 8 tables you have to fill like that. Now, for each of the above table, you have to calculate all these 3. For each of these table. So probability of acceptance is given by number of times the lot is accepted by total number of samples drawn, which is nothing but 20. That can be represented in a different manner. Sigma I equal to 0, probability of acceptance PA, sigma I equal to 0 to C, combination NCI, P raised to I, 1 minus P raised to N minus I. So for the first table, N1, P1, C equal to 1. Let me type here, first table, N1, this is creating nonsense every time. N1, P1, and C equal to 1. So what will be the equation? Can you tell me? PA will be, what is PA then? What will be PA? Can you tell
Sir,
me?
sigma I equal to 0 to 1. NCI P to the power.
What is NCI? That is what I want to know. Na?
Sir, it will be from 0 to 1 again and again. Sir, sir, NCI.
No, you are not understanding. You are again telling NCI. What is this N and I? That is what I want to know. Na?
Sir, N is N1.
16.
N is N1 and I is what?
Sir, I is ranging from 0 to 1.
Yeah, 0 to 1. And then when it is 0, it will be, for example, I will tell you. N1 C0 P raised to 0 1 minus P all raised to N1 minus 0 N1 minus 0. Listen carefully, N1 minus 0 plus N1 C1 P raised to 1 1 minus P all raised to 1 minus 1. I mean sorry, N1 minus 1. Is it clear? So for
Yes.
group number 7, what will be the answer? What is N1? N1 equal to 16. What is P1?
0.01.
0.01. So let us try to do this. So PA will be equal to capital C. I cannot write above and down. So I'm just typing in bracket actually. What will be the one? 16,
0.
comma
16.
0. Is it not? 0 into what is that? What is P? Not 1. Raised to P, raised to I. What is I?
0.
0. Into what? 1 minus
0.01.
1 minus point not 1. Raised to what?
So power 16.
1.
Raised to 16. No, 16 minus 0. This is one part. Plus what?
So C 16 comma 1.
I will just copy and paste it so it will be easy for me at least. So C will be 16 comma
1.
So P is same, point not 1 raised to I. What is I now?
1.
Into 1 minus P remains the same, raised to how much?
15. 15.
15.
50. Is it not? Is it clear now how it is being done?
Yes, sir.
So you can find it out from the, for each table you have to calculate this. All right. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Now you have to calculate AOQ, average outgoing quality. Give me a minute, I'm back. Please be patient, I'm back in a minute. So can you see the screen? Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So this way you can calculate the probability of acceptance theoretical value. Now, experimentally, you can also calculate number of times the lot is accepted by a total number of samples drawn. Number of times the lot is accepted, you know from the table using the decision rule. Less than or equal to C, you accept it. Greater than C, you reject it. So you can count the number of times you have accepted the lot out of 20. For example, you have accepted 8 times, then 8 times acceptance, so 8 by 20 will give the probability of acceptance experimental value. Now you can compare the probability of acceptance experimental value with that of the theoretical value to know how far they are close. Is it clear?
Sir, sir, this theoretical
Tell me.
value is coming very low. Sir, I don't think if I'm doing any calculation mistake, but I'm getting this very low.
No, it's all right. See, without you don't do it now, you do it later. Don't go now actually. All right. You
Okay,
wait.
sir.
There may be discrepancies because we are simulating, is it not? The simulations will have discrepancies. When you rightly do it practically, then the things will be different. Okay. So for the time being, you might find discrepancies. Maybe very less discrepancy or wide discrepancy. Never matter. This is actually hands-on exercises. All right. Is it clear?
Yes, sir, clear.
Yes. So now let me see, let me tell you what you mean by average outgoing quality. See, in average outgoing quality, do you have any idea about average outgoing quality? Because I gave a clue in the start of today's class. And somebody also backed up by telling his suggestion, which was also very much true. Can you remember that? I told you one disadvantage of acceptance sampling. The disadvantage, what I told is that even after the acceptance sampling is done and you decide to accept the lot, one of our friends told there is a chance that some defectives are still present in the lot. Am I clear? Am I clear? For example, out of 500 pieces produced, objects produced, you randomly pick 100 pieces and you have an acceptance number, you inspect and you come to a decision that to accept the lot. But there might be defects in the rest of the 400 also. You are getting my point?
Yes, sir.
So now what you are going to do, you found that you want to reject the lot because there is a lot number of defects in the sample. No, what you are doing as a manufacturer, what you will now do is you go for a rectifying inspection. You know what you mean by rectifying inspection?
No, sir.
Yeah, rectifying inspection means simply 100% inspection. 100% inspection. Because now you do an acceptance sampling and you found that the lot cannot be accepted because there are more defectives in the sample you have randomly picked when compared with the acceptance number. So you will decide not to accept the lot. So if you doesn't accept the lot, you have to sell the lot. Na? Am I clear? For example, the petrol tanks of two-wheelers, it is made by casting, or it is also made using stretch forming of profiled sections. That is a manufacturing process. Now, you manufacture these petrol tanks, 1,000 pieces of petrol tanks have been manufactured. Now you are going to have acceptance sampling. Out of 1,000, you pick 200 pieces. Now you kept a acceptance number C equal to 150. Out of 200 pieces randomly picked, you will inspect each of the 200 pieces, and if you find that 150 or more pieces are defective, you will reject the entire lot of these petrol tanks of 1,000. Now you started inspecting all these 200 petrol tanks one by one. You found that 170 petrol tanks are defective. So what will be your decision?
Sir, can you repeat the last line again? I couldn't hear.
See, out of 1000 petrol tanks, I have randomly picked 200 petrol tanks, casting, and I kept an acceptance number 150. And my decision rule is that out of 200 petrol tanks I am going to inspect, 150 or more number of petrol tanks are found to be defective, I will reject the entire lot. Now, after inspecting all the 200 petrol tanks, I found 170 petrol tanks, 170 petrol tanks are defective. What will be my decision?
We don't accept it, sir, because we kept the limit to be 150.
Yes, so you reject the lot, is it not?
Yes, sir.
So when you reject the lot, it doesn't mean that you can throw away the whole 1000. Then your company will shut down in the next few months. So what you will now do is that you will continue inspecting the rest of the 200 petrol tanks left back. So now already 200 initially inspected for acceptance sampling. It turned out that you are rejecting the lot. The rest 800 pieces you are now going to inspect. So this now becomes rectifying sampling. That means 100% inspection. Now you have inspected all the 100 petrol tanks, castings, and now you are going to replace the defective petrol tanks with the good ones. So when you inspected the whole 8,000 pieces, you found that 300 petrol tanks are defective. Now you replace all the 300 petrol tanks with good ones. And now you believe that since all the defective ones are replaced with good ones after 100% rectifying inspection, you believe that all the 1000 petrol tanks are now good to be assembled for the two-wheeler. Still, without you knowing, without beyond your inspection, the customer may come with a complaint that some of the petrol tanks are not good. They find a defect. So even after 100% rectifying inspection and replacing all the defective ones with good ones, still some of the products will be shipped and will be defective. So these defective ones that has went out of our inspection, even after 100% inspection was done, will define the outgoing quality of the products in an average. Are you getting my point? What I'm telling you?
Yes, sir.
All right. Because see, I am going to export my product. I'm going to export some product. Maybe say gear case. So I'm going to export 1000 gear case. So before exporting, say I'm going to export it to UK. Before shipping it to UK, I take an acceptance sampling. Again, the same thing, 200 gear cases, 150 or more defective, reject the lot. I found 170 gear casing defective. So as per the acceptance sampling decision criteria, I reject the entire lot. So now I am writing on the paper. I am the inspection wing head. I write in the paper, this lot of 1000 gear case cannot be shipped to UK because it has utterly failed the acceptance sampling. Now I send it to the authorities. Now the authorities will ask, write back, kindly do 100% inspection for this rejected lot. Now, since I am the inspection head, I will order my subordinate. You inspect all the rest of the 800 gear case that was left uninspected. So they will inspect the rest of the 800 also, and they will find out the total number of defectives out of these 1000 gear cases. Now I ask them to replace all the defectives they have found out through inspection. Now all the defective gear cases are replaced by good ones. Now, since all the defective gear cases are replaced by good ones, I write in the note on the file, now rectifying inspection 100% being done, and then all the defective gear cases are replaced with good ones. Now, this gear case lot of 1000 pieces is fit to be exported to UK. Now you will export all these 1000 pieces because now it is cleared. But even then, beyond all this 100% inspection and all this test, 1 or 2 or 3 gear cases will have a defect, which goes unnoticed, and which will be only noticed when the customer will get back to you complaining that the gear case I have purchased has some defect. So after rectifying inspection and replacing the bad ones with good ones, defective ones with good ones, what is the outgoing quality of this gear case load which is shipped to UK on an average? That defines average outgoing quality. So every organization definitely know, even after very stringent inspections and 100% inspections also, some of the product will have some defects which will move out to the customer without noticing. So their idea is to keep them as less as possible. So they want to keep the average outgoing quality as less as possible. They know the last time when it was shipped, there was 10 complaints coming in. That means there was 10 defectives there that went out to the customer's hands without getting noticed during the inspection. Now you will tighten the inspection standards. The next time you ship the same lot, another lot, this time you get only 4 complaints. So last time 10 complaints, this time 4 complaints. That means the average outgoing quality of that lot has improved because you have implemented more stringent inspection standards to prevent the defectives moving out to the hands of the customer unnoticed. Is it clear now?
Yes.
Is it
sir.
clear?
Yes.
Wow. So this is available in Amitabha Mitra's textbook. See, can you see average outgoing quality?
Yes, sir.
See, let's first consider the concept of rectifying inspection as it applies to loads that are rejected through sampling plans. Usually such loads go through 100% inspection known as screening, where non-conforming items are replaced with conforming ones. Such a procedure is known as rectification inspection. That is why I use the term 100% rectification inspection. It is not sampling. Sampling means you take a sample. Here you are not taking sample, you are inspecting the entire lot. So non-conforming items found in the sample are also replaced, everything replaced. The average outgoing quality is the average quality level of a series of batches that leave the inspection station, assuming rectifying inspection after coming in for inspection at a certain quality level P. The AOQ is not the quality level of a single batch that leaves the inspection station. For instance, a batch with incoming quality level P will leave the inspection station with about the same quality level if accepted by the sampling plan. So similar wise, you send several such batches and on an average, how many defectives has moved out without unnoticed? That will define on an average the outgoing quality of your product. Is it clear? Is it clear? Yes. So average outgoing quality AOQ, can be calculated using the formula PA P n minus n by n. So just like here, PA is actually calculated by above equation. You can use the theoretical value. P is nothing but the value of P1. N is nothing but 1000. It is already given at the top. Minus n is n1 divided by the capital N for a given P. So you will be able to find out what is AOQ. You will be able to find out what is AOQ. All right.
Sir?
Is it clear?
Sir, but we have to take theoretical value or practical value of PA.
Both you can take. Both you can take and you can find out the values. All right.
Okay, sir. AOQ practical and AOQ theoretical, like that.
Yeah, because see, there is no such concept called practical or theoretical. We are making it practical or theoretical because you are doing some experimental work. Then based on that, how much you will get. And based on simulation, you are getting what? That is what we are trying to make out. The equation remains the same for everything. Is it clear? It doesn't change.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It is only based on what simulation we are doing and what we really do in the experiment. If you really pick the sample, you really draw the sample, you really inspect with your eyes or some inspection instruments, that is experimental, practical. But if you are randomly generating the number, then theoretical way. So this is it. Theoretically, you are using binomial distribution kind of stuff. The other one is also similar, like it is a relative frequency definition of probability. Number of times the lot is accepted by number of times the sample drawn. It is just like telling the total number of success divided by total number of trials. Simply speaking like that. That is experimental. Is it clear?
Welcome you. Control chart.
Is it clear? Yes. So the another topic is ATI, average total inspection. So I'm not going to that. Here you can see average total. If rectifying inspection is conducted for lots rejected by the sampling plan, another evaluation measure is the average total inspection. The ATI represents the average number of items inspected per lot. That means the average number of items inspected per lot. So there are different number of lots, and for every lot you will inspect a particular number of items, and the average of that items that you have inspected for different lots is known as average total inspection. That is for a particular batch. All right. So that can also be found out using the equation n plus 1 minus PA into n minus n. So for all the 8 tables, you have to find this out. Now the task 2 is the same thing, n equal to 1000, but small letter n equal to 10, 25, 50, and C equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. You have to prepare operating characteristic curve and AOQ curve. OC curve we have already prepared last time. This is known as an AOQ curve. AOQ curve. So it is also there in Amitabha Mitra. You can note down figure 10.5. All right. So in your OC curve, the first one, PA with P. So you have to find out probability of acceptance with the fraction defective. So this is the standard OC curve. OC curve always have PA along the y-axis and fraction non-conforming P along the x-axis. You have already drawn this for the C chart and all the charts. P chart, C chart, you have drawn this. But here you will have different graphs for C equal to 0, 1, 2, 3 like that. And you can take n equal to 50. So let us see that. Can you see the table 10.1?
Yes, sir.
So you can take these p values from this. The p value will be 0, 0.005, 0.01, 0.02, 0.03, 0.04, etc. till 0.15. This is standard values usually taken, or you can take your values, but I would suggest you to take these values. Note down table 10.1. Let the p value be this. The starting p value is 0. The second value is 0.05. So you please note it down. So after that, the third value onwards, it is a equal difference, 0.01, 0.02. You can just add 0.01 to each, you will get up to 0.15. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
But now, second one you have to find is NP. NP. What is NP? What is NP? What is N given for the
16
yeah, what is
into
N?
Achha, 10.
What is
sorry,
N?
sir. 10.
10. You are not reading the question careful.
Okay, sir.
It
N
is
equal
50.
to 50.
It is 50 now. So NP is 50. That means all these P values will be simply multiplied with 50. So you will get the value for NP. Is it clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
And what is the C value? The C value will change from 0, 1, 2, 3. Is it not? Okay. So let us take the C value. For example, in this table, the C value they are taking to be 2. So now we will go to cumulative Poisson table. 1 minute. I don't know whether I'm having this table with me. Yes. So you will go to the cumulative Poisson table. So in cumulative Poisson table, you see, let us take the p-value 0.07. So NP value is 3.5. So NP value 3.5, and what is the C value for this table? It is 2. Is it not? Is it not?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes. So 3.5 and 2. Let us go to the Poisson table. So 3.5 along the row. So 3.5 is not there. So let us find out some other one which is available. Let us see 3. NP value 3. So NP value 3, it is there, is it not? NP value 3. Can you see the blue colored one?
Yes,
I'm
sir.
typing. Yeah. And C value is 2. That is along the column C. So what will be the value? Can you tell me?
0.4232.
0.4232. What is the value here?
0.423. Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes. So here it is C equal to 2 and this one. So we can use the Excel also. So here I will use Poisson distribution. So Poisson dot dist. So what is X mean and cumulative? What is X here? What is X
Sir,
here?
C.
What is it?
Sir, C value.
C value. Exactly. The C value. So you write 2 here. I'm doing this for the table. Okay. The table 10, 10, 1. So C is 2 here for the table. And what is actually the second value?
Sir, NP.
NP. Exactly. Very good. NP value is what here? 3.
3.
And the third one is true because it is
True.
cumulative. You give it true. Close the bracket. What is the value you are getting?
Yes, sir. Same as that.
0.4319, which is matching. Similarly, for 3.5, this 3.5 is not there in the table. See, after 3, it go to 3.2, 3.4. After 3.4, it is going to 3.6. You don't have 3.5. So you can use this one. Again, Poisson.dist. C value in the table 10.1, it is 2. So what is the NP value? 3.5. And it is true. 3.5 is not available in the table directly. So what is the value you are getting? 0.3208. Are you getting the same one here?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So you understood it now, how it should be done. So you
Yes.
can note down the table. So note down the table code equal to Poisson.dist open bracket. I will type here. So you will be able to understand. Equal to Poisson Poisson.dist in bracket C, comma, NP, comma, TRUE, true, and then enter. Is it clear?
Yes,
Is
sir.
it clear? Yes. So now this is table 10.1. It is the combination with n equal to 50 and c equal to 2. All right. So similarly, in our case, we have n equal to 50, c equal to 0, one table that will generate one OC curve. Now you have n equal to 50, c equal to 1, that will generate the next curve. Now you have n equal to 50, c equal to 2, that will generate the third curve. And you have n equal to 50, c equal to 3, that will generate the fourth curve. All the time the p value will remain the same. Is it clear now to you what I'm telling you?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So p value and np value will remain the same because p value is standard. N is not changing for the first question. N is always 50. So np will also same, but the c value will change for 0, 1, 2, 3. That will generate 4 different curves like this. Can you see?
Yes, sir.
See here, n is not changing. We are not using n here, but n is 1000. Here small letter n is 50. Is it changing? No.
No, sir.
But see the c values are changing. Na? 0, 1, 2, 3. Is it not? 0, 1, 2, 3. So you get 4 curves like this. So you have PA along the y-axis, proportion non-conforming P along the x-axis. So p-value you have already. Where is the p-value? The p-value is the standard value you are having. This will form the x-axis. Is it clear? Are you getting me?
Yes, sir.
This value will form the y-axis. So likewise. The next one is just ulta. C will fix as 2, but N will change from 10, 25 and 50. So how many curves will be there?
So 3 curves.
3 curve. 3 curve. What is the p-value? P-value doesn't change. P-value will remain the same. But N value will change. N value changes first to 10, then to 25, then to 50. Multiply with the p-value, you get NP. Use that NP and C will remain same for all the 4 curves. So it will look like this. See, here C is remaining the same. C equal to 2. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
Are you getting my point? And read the textbook and find out, depending upon the shape of the profile, what is your inference? Which is the best acceptance sampling plan? What does it mean if the line moved more closer to the y-axis? That means the lines you have plotted here, if it is more close to the y-axis, for example, the line for n equal to 200 and c equal to 2, this line, can you see? Blue mark.
Sir.
So this is very close to y-axis. So what does it mean as it moves close to y-axis? What does it mean as it moves away from y-axis? How can you judge the merit of the sampling plan? All this is a sampling plan, is it not? This is one sampling plan. This is the second sampling plan. This is the third sampling plan. Which sampling plan will reduce the producers and consumer risk? That is what it is being done. Similarly, you have to calculate for AOQ, which P, and ATI also for these values. You will get different curves. You can find it in the text how it is being calculated. I have already told you. AOQ you can see. See, this is ATI curve. All right, average total inspection value and proportion non-conforming. Proportion non-conforming value will be standard as in the before cases. Average total inspection values you will calculate. You know how to calculate using this equation. So based on that, for n equal to 10 and 50, you will have 2 graphs. And there is a combination C equal to 0, 1, 3. So accordingly, you can calculate. All right, can you see the graph?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So just read that. I am giving you that as an exercise. Where is other one? See, it looks like this: average outgoing quality and incoming quality. So it is very close by. So you can see this, how it is being plotted. See, n equal to 50 and c equal to 2. So there are, this is the graph for what? ATI. So here ATI you are having this combination. N10, C0, N10, 1, N3, 50, 0, 51, 53. So that much graphs will be plotted. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So similarly, you can plot for the other ones also. Just read this portion. You have this soft copy of this textbook, na? Everybody?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So you can read this. See, there is a calculation also being given. You can easily calculate based on that how it will be. So N50 C2, construct an ATI curve, N50 Z2, consider the calculation for a given value dot probability P as shown in table 10.1. See, 10.1. 10.1 means that first table which I have shown where P values are there. So the probability of accepting such a load using sampling plan is PA equal to 0.920. The ATA is given. Is it not?
Yes, sir.
PA values will calculate. No, you have calculated the PA values before. The PA values you will get from the previous ones. All right.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Or you can calculate the PA values again, once again. For n equal to 10 and C2, PA value for n equal to 25 C2, then PA value for n equal to 50 and C2. P values are given in the table, the first one, that doesn't change. Now calculate the NP value for n equal to 10, n equal to 25, n equal to 50. So you will get 3 NPs, corresponds to 3n. Now accordingly for 3 NPs and C equal to 2, find out the probability of acceptance PA. Once you get the probability of acceptance, you can calculate the ATI values using the formula. Once you get the ATI values, you can plot the curve. So there will be 3 curves. Is it clear what I am telling you?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So you have to again calculate PA. It is a manual tedious calculation, but no problem. You can use Excel also. So you will get that values. Now report template is also available there. Accordingly, you can just enter the values and the tables, all these things. Just calculate it. So you are having OC curve, PAC 0 for n equal to 50, C equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. So you are having values here. So here the P values are given as 0.01 to 0.75. You create your own interval and you can use this. All right. Is it clear?
Sir, we have to use these values or those standard 0.0, like 0 to 0.15 values, or these values?
Which one you prefer? You want to use the standard from the textbook or this one?
The standard will be, sir, both will be fine. Whatever you take.
Tell one, because otherwise TS will find it difficult to correct. Which one you prefer?
Sir, these values 0.01 to 0.75.
Everybody agree with that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, then it is left to you. You find out a suitable interval yourself, and up to 0.75, the range is 0.01 to 0.75. So you will get, see, PA value for this, PA value for, so you have to just multiply it with 50. If you multiply with 50, you will get NP values. From the NP values and the C equal to 0, you can find it from the tables or using the Excel sheet, you can find that. So you will get 4 curves. Similarly, when C equal to 2, you can find the values. C equal to 2, N equal to 10, 25, 50. N equal to 10, 25, 50, you will get 3 curves. AOQ also you will get 3 curves. Because there are 3 ends. To calculate that, you can use the same thing. The P values. Find that PAs for 3 ends. Then from the table, similarly. So is it clear now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, very good. So you can start doing. And thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.